Thank you, Mr. Frazier, and good evening, everyone. Last week, I started my school weekly visits and was very pleased with what I saw. Oakland Elementary School in a brand new building, and Harborview, one of our excellent schools, both doing wonderful things on behalf of children. On back-to-back visits, however, you can really see how the new schools, with the natural light, the technology, and the space, really enhanced the whole climate and learning environment. And it really was a very powerful message about how wonderful the new building plan has been in terms of space and opportunity for all children. Also last week, on Friday, I had the opportunity to do a much briefer visit at Springfield Elementary School, where Dr. Zais, our state superintendent, was making a visit. And the good part of that visit was the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Zais and Terry Nichols and Principal Blondell Adams for about 30 minutes, talking about issues that we're tackling here with our literacy initiative. Dr. Zais took some sample information we provided about our first grade academy, and we also had an open invitation from Dr. Zais to ask for some flexibility around teacher evaluation as we move possibly to a value-added model. So I wanted the board to know that. Our 10-day enrollment was calculated last week, and our 10-day enrollment trend is up for the 4th straight year in a row. We have the highest 10-day enrollment since 1999. This does not count the new early childhood seats that we opened, so our enrollment in K-12 is just under 45,000 students, and as you see on this slide, it's a pretty dramatic increase over the past 4 years, and it had been a pretty steady decline leading up to 07-08. Last Friday as well was the Trident United Way Day of Caring, and we want to say thank you to our business community, our military leaders, and all of the individual volunteers, hundreds and hundreds of folks who turned out to help us spruce up, fix up our schools and our communities surrounding our schools. So we want to thank all of those volunteers. It really makes a big difference. The official Trident United Way will kick off on September 19th. We'll have our video to staff out this Friday. Our goal this year is to raise $120,000. This is an investment in our children, their families, creating opportunities in school and in our communities for a safer environment. So I thank our employees who gave generously last year, and I hope we can reach the goal of $120,000 this year. We have 2 new strategies or tools for supporting the improvement of instruction. The first is the newly developed instructional support log that is now a leave behind for any of our instructional support personnel who visit our schools or do work in our schools, including any outside consultants. This will enable our principals to track who was in the buildings, what did they do, who did they meet with, and it will also become an accountability tool for our central office and learning community directors who can monitor employee performance. So this is a part of our initiative to move in the direction of accountability and instructional improvement for everybody in the district. We're focusing on the same thing. The second new development in the area of improving instruction started today with a series that we do with our principals called District Accountability and Support Sessions. Today I met with a group of schools that made adequate yearly progress. We asked 2 things. One, what did they do to make adequate yearly progress, and how can we better support them through our learning communities and our central staff. So these are productive sessions. We plan on sharing the results of these sessions with the other principals, and we'll be bringing in principals in small groups over the next 2 weeks. And finally, as we started at the last board meeting, I'm going to recap the board requests and for information and tell you whether we gave out information and make sure that we catch up on anything that we left out. But we went back to the minutes and we think we captured all of your questions. We had a request for the letter to custodial staff inviting them to meet with our staff to discuss pay and benefits, and Mr. Bobby provided that letter. Mrs. Stoney provided a sample letter to parents regarding student transfer appeals and availability of space. We had a FOIA from Mrs. Taylor about Sullivan's Island Elementary School and the 500 student building capacity. And Mrs. Stoney, did you provide the board with that packet? Okay, there's a detailed packet of information. I will go over the highlights of that story of the timeline around Sullivan's Island when I make my presentation. We provided the board with a membership list of the CEF positions. Mr. Lewis responded to a question about the status of Jenny Moore Elementary School, the new building, and specifically he was asked if additional funds are needed. The answer is that no additional funds are needed at this point. Staff could provide updates to the board at each design phase, and we'd be happy to do that. The board asked for a board meeting matrix and attendance information, and that was made available by Mrs. Stoney. There was a request for a student transfer flow chart, and the draft is complete. We are reviewing it with stakeholders, including constituent board members, and we will present it at a future board workshop. We were asked to provide a list of African American principals, their names and their schools. This list was made available by Mrs. Stoney. We were asked about the impact of on teacher allocations based on the 7-day count for enrollment being lower than it was projected. Mr. Bobby and his staff are working to address this request. We were asked for an update on the one-to-one iPad learning initiative, the timeline, and the RFP. That information was provided on Friday via the Friday update and on September 9th. We were also asked for regular updates on refinancing long-term debt in the district, and that also was provided on Friday, September 9th. And finally, we were asked to revisit the possibility of reinstating custodial staff, and Mr. Bobby's response was that could be discussed during the next budget cycle, but at this point we do not have flexibility with our budget. So that will conclude my update for tonight. Thank you for your attention.